This Sunday we have another selection of readings that don't at first glance seem to really go together, and yet the idea of being pure in heart, of following Christ's example in our lives and finding rest for our souls, that is something that unifies the prayers and the readings that we have. And the idea of discipleship as well as resting in the Lord will come again and again through the service. At the sequence hymn, we will be singing very familiar words that normally we think of the choir singing. God be in my head and in my understanding, God be in mine eyes and in my looking, God be in my mouth and in my speaking, God be in my heart and in my thinking, God be at mine end and at my departing. These are words that came out of the Sarum tradition, the liturgical tradition around Salisbury in the UK, and they became very popular in the early 20th century when Walford Davies set them for choir, and our choir sings the Walford Davies setting of this from time to time. We also sing settings of these words by John Rutter as well as Mark Schweitzer. But this poem also occurs as a hymn in our hymnal with a hymn tune that was composed for these words by Sidney Nicholson. So even though it's only one verse, Sidney Nicholson very cleverly reuses three of the phrases, or one of the phrases three times and one of the phrases twice for an A-B-A-B-A structure, which makes it feel very familiar even on first singing, and also gives it a little bit of a verse structure to that text. So again, I hope that you enjoy really singing and praying these words that often we associate more with choral settings. We will be chanting Psalm 84 as our psalm appointed for the day. And at the offertory, the choir will be singing a setting of a few of the verses from Psalm 84 by the contemporary American composer Carolyn Shaw. Carolyn Shaw was commissioned to write a piece for choir without any real restrictions or suggestions about text. And she came to the idea of these verses from Psalm 84 and that hunger for finding a home, especially that verse, that very tender verse that says, the swallow has made her a nest and the sparrow a house where she may lay her young. That idea of having nurturing in God's presence. And even when we are walking in the valley of tears, or in very ancient language, the valley of Baca, as it appears in this anthem setting. It's a very serene and yet haunting setting of these words, these comforting words from Psalm 84. It's for large forces. So the choir sings SATB 4-part on both sides, both the decani side and the cantora side. So it's an 8-voice texture throughout. And it has some extended vocal techniques. People sing on wordless vowels and do these melismas, these passages that cover lots of notes in almost a gentle, almost a wail, but almost a sigh. There are lots of different things that are happening, but the core musical idea are these chords that continue to just sort of float upwards and down. And then through that, there are lots of expressive moments of the choir, and it just sort of weaves this tale of hungering for home. Very atmospheric. This is new to the choir. We've learned that this fall, and we've really enjoyed getting to know it, and are very excited to share it with you. And we hope that it will awaken some of that sense of hungering for home and finding a place in God's presence. At the communion, the choir will sing something that's kind of polar opposite of that, and yet has some of that same effect of serenity. And it goes back to Walford Davies, the composer we mentioned earlier, his setting of God Be in My Head being the first real significant musical setting of that. And it's a setting of a poem by John Keble, the early 19th century priest and theologian. Blessed are the pure at heart, for they shall see our God. And it's a very gentle little choral hymn that shows that you don't have to make things super sophisticated or super elaborate for them to be very, very affecting. And the very gentle chords very expressive and very lovely in its own right. So we hope that as you are searching for home, a spiritual home, that you will join us here at St. John's Cathedral and worship with us this Sunday.